What's up, everybody? So what's better, a digital copy of a game or the physical copy of a game? That's the question for today. I've bought a lot of games online. In the past, I ran into a couple issues where maybe that company lost the rights to a certain game that I really liked, and then it was off the game store, or maybe, Steam decides not to support that or whatever no more. I grabbed a bunch of my games that I actually have physical copies of just in case, the system is down, or maybe I decide not to, to use Xbox anymore, like we were talking about in the previous video, Xbox versus PlayStation. What if I decide to switch over to PlayStation? Well, all the digital copies of games, of course, I can't trade in, I can't sell, I can't anything. I would just have to give them my console or sell the console to somebody and say, hey, here you go. And maybe I get something for all the games that are on it. But more often than not, you're going to wipe the system just so all your personal data is off it. And like if I were to take it to GameStop, they would do the same. So having a physical copy of all these games would allow me to trade them in, at least get some kind of credit. The pricing isn't that much different. I mean, granted, storage is a little bit, but it's also nice where if you're playing a certain type of game, maybe your internet goes out or something like that, and it's like, okay, well, this is a single player game. I don't need to be online to play. I can play anyway. And that would be my thing coming at this is there are certain games that I think, in my opinion, I like to have a copy of, and I'm sure several people out there are going to agree with me. And then there are going to be games that it's like maybe it's not that big a deal, and I'll go ahead and just play it off of like Game Pass or something. An interesting one was Outriders. I played Outriders right off of Game Pass. It released on day one, and I know a lot of people said they had a lot of problems with it. I did not. Like I had a pretty seamless experience. I had maybe a handful of crashes total. I just finished Marvel Midnight Suns. I've played for over 100 hours. And I've had probably 30 to 40 crashes total in the entire time I've played that game. I can probably say I've had 5 on Outriders from the day it launched. So it's night and day how many times it crashed. Well, it's interesting because I went ahead and I picked up Outriders just recently because, again, it was one of those that I found to be a lot of fun, and I figured if Xbox took it off Game Pass, I could still play. I tried to play Resident Evil the other day, and it was one of those that are now gone off Game Pass, and so it was like, hey, you don't have this game, you can't play it. And I was like, oh, okay, and I switched to a different game. But that would be the thing. I have a stack of my PC games here, and that was the second part of this video, is I want to talk about PC gaming in a world where we don't have disk drives. Like every laptop no longer comes with a drive, and then when you're getting desktops now, they don't come with drives. And again, that forces us to either A, pick up a portable drive, or B, get everything off of Steam or maybe the Microsoft Store or whatever it is you're buying your games on. But it's all going to be a receipt. And again, if I don't like it, well, too bad, you're stuck with it. I believe Steam now has like a 3-day policy. If you buy the game in 72 hours, you can return it if you haven't played more than a certain percentage, which I give them credit. That's pretty cool. And I know a lot of, GameStop and all that, they're not going to take a PC game back because you can install it and this, that, and the other. Again, I have all the actual discs. And of course, I have all my little game guides, and then of course, all your little codes that tie to all the discs. So if I'm ever feeling nostalgic, I could drop back. Most PCs nowadays, you don't get a disk drive, so you can't even do that. You'll have to go out and purchase a separate drive just so you have that ability. It's no secret that I have an Xbox and I have an Xbox 360. And like, again, I still have several of my 360 games because these haven't transferred over. I got like Transformers War for Cybertron, Need for Speed Most Wanted, which I think is still probably the best racing game they've ever released, the Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original. I know the story's kind of cheesy, but I love running from the cops, and the spike strips and the customization of the cars is, for me, just enough to where it's fun, but not too much in the tuning. I'm not a gearhead where I'm trying to figure out like, all right, I need 2 more degrees aerodynamics, and I need my brake pads to be this. Like that gets to be a little bit too much for me. This was a fun area. And again, I have several Xbox 360 games that if they didn't release Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, look at that. If they didn't release on a newer system, I'm still good to go. And I don't have a lot of them. Like that's all I have for that. My Xbox One games, I probably have around, 30, 40. It's not like I have to have all of them. It's just something I want to have a physical copy if for some reason they take it down or it goes away. And an easy example, I've talked about this in a previous video, is so Ultimate Alliance 2 is Ultimate Alliance and Ultimate Alliance 2 are the perfect examples for this. Well, we ended up getting Red Ring of Death on that Xbox. I swapped over to a new Xbox and we couldn't get the DLC with it because it had dropped off of the Microsoft Store. And I had to do all this crazy weird stuff to get it over to my new system. And then nicely now they have released it. I guess it was on a time release because it's not available currently, but they had a time release where they did like a remastered version of this and all the DLC was there. And then came out the second one and it was the same problem. Psylocke is my favorite X-Men character, and so when I got this game, I was all excited, like, ooh, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get the DLC, and I'm going to get Psylocke, and I'm going to be able to play the game with my favorite character. And it just so happened that that DLC was on like a timed window. It released for like a Christmas break or something, and I didn't purchase it in that window. When they released the updated version of this, it came with the DLC as well. But again, that was a timed deal, because I've had a few people comment on my Marvel Ultimate Alliance video that, hey, I wish I could still buy that game right now. Like I could still get it on Microsoft Store. But that's my 2 cents on that. I think discs are good. I hate the fact that the industry is completely going diskless. And I also hate the fact that you can't get a PC with a disk drive for every single thing. There are certain things I still like to have on disk. I have a lot of family photos and stuff that we kept on disk. Not that it's not a good thing or a bad thing to have a portable hard drive or whatever, but sometimes those fail. I have had on more than one occasion a 100 gigabyte, a 250 gigabyte, and a 500 gigabyte external hard drive just die, and a couple internal ones for that matter. To send that in to try to recover the data is virtually impossible or not cost effective for like, hey, I'm just trying to get a handful of family photos back. And they're like, all right, well, it's, $100 per gigabyte or something. And it's like, that's insane. So having a physical disk is nice for those reasons. You can sit there and say, okay, hey, I'm going to pop this in and hey, look at all the photos. And you can have them, that could be your backup to your backup. You just keep that like in a little sleeve and it could be in your safe or it could be whatever in a little book. And like, okay, these are family photos and you have them broken down by year. But I've done the same thing with movies. Like I just bought Top Gun Maverick, because again, it was a really good movie and I want to be able to watch it when I want to watch it, even if the internet doesn't want to share it. Old movies. We did a Halloween movie night with my dojo and we did Monster Squad. That again, I couldn't find Monster Squad anywhere for me to rent or to get digitally. So my mom happened to have a copy. She let me borrow one. And then we watched it that way. We actually used an actual DVD. That's my little 2 cents. I think having certain things on physical media is still A-okay in my book. Go ahead and comment below if you're in the same boat as me, or are you one of those people like, nope, I'm gonna go digital only. If that's the case, what do you do when it's gone? Has Steam ever dropped a game? Have you ever been, you had one of your favorite games on Steam and then Steam's like, okay, well, we're not supporting that no more. We don't have a license for that or whatever the reason, and it's gone. And then what do you do then? You're just out of luck versus, again, I could just drop over to my disc and say, well, I'm going to still play. Throw in the comments below that. I'd be really curious to hear what you guys have to say. And I do my best to respond to every comment, whether it's positive or negative. Well, this is JD the Tech Ninja, and this is my video on should you have physical media versus digital media. And I say yes. See you guys later.